Now, we will discuss about key concepts of the GDI engine. So, there are few key concepts and I will then again come back to some of these emission norms. So, first let us discuss about two combustion modes. Okay. Now, what is this two combustion mode? So, two combustion mode is basically GDI engine is a very smart engine. Okay. So, what it does is it autonomously works in whenever you need high power and high torque output, the engine switches to homogeneous combustion mode. Whenever you are operating the engine at part load condition, the engine autonomously switches to stratified charge mode. So, there is one is homogeneous combustion mode, the other one is stratified charge mode combustion. How does it happen? So, basically you press the accelerator. So, whenever the accelerator is pressed more, the engine ECU gets that signal, because in the accelerator there is a potentiometer. So, when you press the accelerator, the resistance value changes and through it is detected by the ECU. So, ECU will know that now more power and more torque is expected from the engine. So, what the engine does is it does the processing, it calculates how much is the fuel that need to be put in, and it starts putting that fuel in the intake stroke. So, when the intake valve is open, air is being taken in, it puts in the intake stroke. So, once it puts in the intake stroke, what will happen? It will become homogeneous charge, okay, and full quantity of fuel will be put in, because you are operating at high load, and this is and then the combustion will be just like MPFI engine. So, this is called homogeneous charge combustion mode. Okay. So, when you reduce the load, when you reduce the accelerator pedal, the ECU will know that okay, now less torque is expected. So, then what it will do? It will do the calculations and it will find out how much value, how much fuel quantity needs to be put in, and it will start injecting that fuel towards the end of the compression stroke now. Okay. So, the engine, without the driver coming to know about it, keep flipping between the stratified mode and homogeneous charge mode depending on what is expected from it, and driver will not come to know about it. It is done automatically through ECU calibration. Okay. So, in response to the driving condition, the GDI engine changes the timing of the fuel spray injection, alternating between two distinct combustion mode, which are stratified charge mode. This is also called ultra lean mode. Why we call it ultra lean mode? Because overall air fuel mixture in stratified charge mode, we are injecting at the end of the compression stroke. So, only very close to the spark plug there is fuel, other places there is no fuel. So, if you look at the overall fuel air mixture, this will be ultra lean, air fuel mixture will be very lean. If you want to put the same air fuel mixture strength in a PFI engine, you cannot ignite it, it is very lean. Okay. And therefore, this leads to also lot of fuel economy saving. And the second combustion is homogeneous charge mode. Here the injection is done towards the intake stroke. Okay. So, under normal driving condition, when the speed is stable, GDI engine operates in ultra lean mode. So, for example, you are going at 80-90 kilometers an hour. Okay. At that time, you are only using a small part of the power that can be produced by the engine. So, then at that time, the engine will be operating in stratified charge mode. Okay. So, a spray of the fuel is injected over the piston crown during the later stage of the compression stroke, resulting in optimally stratified air fuel mixture immediately beneath the spark plug. Just below the spark plug, you will have the mixture. This mode thus facilitates lean combustion and fuel efficiency is comparable to diesel engine. So, since it is a very lean mixture, you will get very high efficiency, which can even surpass the diesel engine. So, GDI engine switches to superior power output mode when the driver accelerates, indicating a need for greater power. Fuel is injected into the cylinder during piston's intake stroke, where it mixes with the air to form a homogeneous mixture. Okay. The homogeneous mixture is similar to that of a conventional MPFI engine, but by utilizing the unique features of GDI engine and even higher power levels than conventional petrol engines can be achieved. So, here the idea is very simple. You are doing the injection inside the engine during the intake stroke, intake valve is open. So, when you are injecting, the fuel will evaporate, and once the fuel evaporates, the air will cool, and once the air cools, it will shrink. When it shrinks, so it will suck in more amount of air through the intake valve. So more amount of fuel air mass will come in, and therefore volumetric efficiency will increase, and therefore higher power even compared to PFI engine can be produced by this. Okay. So here this cartoon actually explains these two combustion mode. This is the condition with the partial load condition. So in the partial load condition, here the piston is coming up and you are doing this injection, and through this curved top piston you can see all the fuel will get concentrated very close to the spark plug. Okay. So this is a compression stroke injection. Here stratified air fuel mixture is formed because the fuel will be concentrated very close to the spark plug. In other areas there will be no fuel. Okay. So this is stratified air fuel mixture, and overall this is a very ultra lean combustion, and this leads to very low consumption comparable to that of diesel, and it increases, you can have higher efficiency. Okay. So when you have high load, at that time when the piston is going down, you are injecting, so fuel is injected, and you can see this cone formation here. So evaporation will be very quick. So this is the intake stroke injection, and this helps you achieve homogeneous mixture in the entire cylinder. So every nook and corner of the cylinder will now have stoichiometric mixture or close to stoichiometric mixture, and since it is close to stoichiometric mixture, you will have stoichiometric combustion. And I told you that you can get high power, which can even be more than a conventional MPFI engine because of the cooling effect that the intake stroke injection generates. Make sense? Clear? So two combustion modes, stratified mode and homogeneous combustion mode. Clear? So now let us move on to the second key concept, which is precise control over the air fuel mixture. How do we control the air fuel mixture very precisely in a GDI engine? So the GDI engine's ability to precisely control the mixing of the air and fuel is due to a new concept called wide spacing, whereby the injection of fuel spray occurs further away from the spark plug than in a conventional petrol engine. So you see, in a conventional petrol engine, you have a spark plug here and the fuel spray happens in the port. So the distance between these two is not much. In a GDI engine, you have a spark plug here and you have injector here. So the fuel actually has to travel a longer distance, although they are physically they are close, but actually they are quite distant because the fuel has to travel a much longer distance. This is called wide spacing. Okay. So you can read this again, whereby injection of the fuel spray occurs further away from the spark plug than in a conventional engine, creating a wide space, and once you create a wide space, that enables optimum mixing of the gaseous fuel and air. Finally, all the fuel, whether it is diesel or gasoline, has to get converted to vapor form before it mixes with the air. Okay. So once it becomes gas, then it mixes with the air, and this wide spacing allows optimum mixing. Okay. In stratified combustion mode or ultra lean combustion mode, fuel is injected towards the curved top piston crown rather than towards the spark plug during the later stages of the compression stroke. The movement of the fuel spray, piston head's displacement of the spray and flow of the air within the cylinder causes the spray to vaporize and disperse. The resulting mixture of the gaseous fuel and air is then carried up to the spark plug for ignition. Okay. The biggest advantage of this system is that it enables precise control over the air fuel ratio at the spark plug at the point of ignition. So basically in this wide space, the mixing can take place, and then what you are finally trying to do is you are trying to control the mixture strength at the point of ignition, and because of this wide space you are able to do that actually much more precisely. So you see here, this is more clear here. So what you are doing is you are trying to control the fuel air mixture strength here, but you are injecting the fuel here. So what happens is that when you inject the fuel, and this is when we are talking about this, we are talking about stratified combustion mode. So the injection is actually being done towards the end of the compression stroke. So in an engine, the piston is hot. Okay, you inject the fuel, so the fuel will hit the piston bowl, and this piston, the heat will be absorbed by this fuel. So the fuel vapor will form and then it will rise, and because of this tumble motion also, this fuel vapor will be pushed towards the spark plug. So fuel spray impingement and vaporization is shown here, and then carrying this fuel vapors to the spark plug is shown here. And you can see this is a very beautiful way of controlling actually indirectly the fuel air mixture strength in a GDI engine. This is not possible in case of MPFI engine. Okay. Now, you see this here, this is the cut section, okay, of a GDI engine. So, please try to see this carefully. What you see here is a upright straight intake port, okay. This is the cut section and this is the intake valve, okay. This is the intake valve spring and this is opening and closing of this intake valve is controlled by this cam, okay. So, the air comes in here and from here the air will come in and then here you have the piston cavity. So, the air comes in like this and goes up because of this cavity, okay. And here you have this high pressure swivel injector which injects the fuel, okay. So, you can see this air is coming in here and through this tumble motion, through this curved top, it undergoes reverse tumble motion, okay. And this is the cavity, you can see this cavity which enables this kind of reverse tumble motion. And then here you have injector and you can see this injector is having helical spray, helical cone which is trapping lot of air inside. This helps in evaporation of the fuel faster. Fuel is in liquid form, gasoline is in liquid form when injected. It has to become vapor before it really vaporizes, okay. So, these are this is the second key concept for GDI. The third key concept is better fuel efficiency. So, the concept of wide spacing makes it possible to achieve a stratified mixture, enabling the GDI engine to offer stable and ultra lean combustion, allowing a significant improvement in fuel efficiency, because in rest of the places there is just air and only part load. At part loads you just need to create enough power just to overcome the friction and maybe small amount of useful power that can be obtained with ultra lean combustion mixture. Otherwise, in an MPFI engine you have to fill the entire thing with combustible mixtures and combustible mixture strength is only between 12 to 18. Entire cylinder has to be filled with fuel. Maybe you can have slightly leaner mixture, but entire thing has to be filled. In GDI only small fuel will do. So, in addition to ultra lean combustion, the GDI engine achieves high compression ratio because of anti-knocking characteristics and precise control of injection timing. So, these things are also controlled by ECU. These features contribute to drastically lower fuel consumption. And the best part is that by doing this ultra lean combustion, you actually improve the fuel economy with 33% or more. So, that means if your engine which is giving 12 kilometers per liter, if you replace it with the equivalent GDI engine, you will get 16 kilometers per liter. And so, this is done in Japanese 10 to 15 mode driving cycle, which typically represents urban driving conditions. So, this is shown here. This is the conventional engine and this is the GDI engine, and here you can see same type of engine, the efficiency improved by more than 33%. Okay. Then improved power from the GDI engine, you get higher power than even conventional engines. So, in high load operation, charge burns in homogeneous mixture mode. The GDI engine functions like any other MPFI engine. Hence, the GDI engine achieves substantially higher power than in a conventional engine. Fine spray of the fuel is injected in a wide shower directly in the cylinder, where it vaporizes instantly into the airflow. This causes the air to cool and contract, allowing additional air to be drawn in, thus improving the volumetric efficiency of the engine. I have already explained this. The cooling of the intake air prevents knocking and results in higher power output. So, you know that knocking happens when at the end of the compression stroke, at the end of combustion in gasoline engine. So, if you are starting with cooler mixture, the possibility of knocking will reduce. So, this helps you actually in preventing the knocking, and this also helps you achieve higher power output. Okay. So, GDI engine prevents knock. With conventional MPFI engine, strong knocking occurs during acceleration. You must have seen this, that when you try to accelerate to higher speeds at higher gears, sometimes you experience knocking. So, this is basically caused by petrol that sticks to the intake port. Okay, you are trying to inject more fuel, it does not evaporate, it sticks to the wall, and that causes knocking. So, with the GDI engine, the fuel is injected directly in the cylinder. So, nothing will stick to the ports. So, at least that part is taken care of, and then it burns completely, meaning that the transient knocking that you experience when you accelerate suddenly, that is suppressed. This in turn allows higher power output in the early stages of acceleration, when power is needed the most. Okay. So, Mitsubishi achieved precise control of formation over the air fuel mixture. They capitalized on this achievement by developing an innovative anti-knock technology called two-stage mixing. It is a very, very innovative technology, two-stage mixing, and the sole purpose of this technology is to avoid knocking. Although GDI engine does not knock in most cases, but even during the transient or heavy transients, it should not knock. So, how can we avoid that? That is avoided by two-stage mixing. I told you that knocking, the possibility of knocking happening is highest when you are dealing with stoichiometric mixture. So, if you make the mixture lean or if you make the mixture rich, the knocking can be avoided, because it is most likely to happen when the mixture is stoichiometric. So, in two-stage mixing, you are exactly avoiding the same, you are exactly avoiding the formation of stoichiometric mixture, and this process is called two-stage mixing. So, in high load condition, a homogeneous air fuel mixture is used to prevent partially dense mixtures that causes soot to form. In contrast, the new two-stage mixing technology prevents even the soot formation during the stratified mixing when a dense mixture forms. So, two-stage mixing, using two-stage mixing, two things happen. One is that knocking can be prevented, the other thing is that soot formation can also be reduced. How do we achieve this? So, I will show you how do we achieve this. So, this is achieved, so this is called two-stage mixing. So, two-stage mixing means what? Two-stage mixing means that suppose you have to inject 20 milligram of fuel in the engine, you want to burn that. So, what you do is 1/4 of the fuel you inject during the intake stroke, 5 milligram. So, now what that 5 milligram will do? It will form homogeneous mixture, right, but it will be very lean, you can't burn that mixture, it will be extremely lean because you have put in only 1/4 of the desired quantity, right. 3/4 of the quantity you put at the end of compression stroke. So, now once you do put 3/4 of the quantity, that will get concentrated very close to the spark plug, right. So, once that comes very close to the spark plug, that is the zone where you will have rich mixture, and that is the zone where particulates are formed, right. Around it, it is a lean mixture. So, there no particulate formation will take place, even the combustion will not take place. So, now what happens is that in two-stage mixing, the combustion will first take place in the rich region close to the spark plug under high load condition. So, soot formation will take place. Now, soot formation, there is a process called thermophoretic process. So, that means there is a pressure on the particles to move from high concentration zone to low concentration zone. What is low concentration zone here? It is the lean side, and lean side, it is a lean side, so there is very little amount of fuel. But when these particles go, what will happen to overall fuel air mixture? It will increase and it will become combustible. So, the soot migrates to the leaner side because of the thermophoretic forces, and it burns in that region, and the fuel also in that region will be burnt. So, now this way, whatever soot formation is taking place, it will be neutralized. Now, imagine the first case where you are at high load, you are only doing at the end of the compression stroke condition. So, what will happen? Soot will form, it will go to the sidewise because of thermophoretic forces, and there is just air. So, once the soot moves, nothing will happen, this soot will actually become mature because there is no fuel, it will not burn because it is just the air available, the mixture strength will not be in the combustible range because of the migration of soot in that zone. So, soot will rather become mature and soot will come out. By doing this two-stage mixing, we have killed soot in the first place, and then we have also eliminated the possibility of knocking, because now we do not have stoichiometric mixture in the combustion chamber, it is either too lean or rich, it is either lean or rich. Okay. So, in two-stage mixing, about 1/4 of the total volume of the fuel is injected during the intake stroke. This forms ultra lean mixture, which is too lean to burn under normal operating conditions. The remaining 3/4 of the fuel is injected during the later stages of the compression stroke. The key is that air fuel mixture is divided, either it is very lean, which is outside, or it is very rich mixture, and a rich air fuel mixture. Okay. So, knocking occurs most frequently in stoichiometric mixture, but it is less likely to occur when the mixture is either lean or rich. Okay. So, the knocking can be avoided because the rich mixture is formed immediately before the ignition. There is no time for chemical reactions that cause knocking to take place. Mixture formation takes place because the wide spacing, mixture formation takes place at right time, close to the spark plug when you want it. It is not present all the time, it takes time and it reaches the spark plug only when you are about to fire, about to apply the spark. Okay. So, there is no time for chemical reactions and knocking can be prevented. This is another factor that prevents knocking. So, this cartoon actually shows it very well. You see, this is the intake stroke from here to here. Okay. So, piston starts moving down, and once it is moving down, you give a small pulse, because here only 1/4 of the fuel need to be injected. So, one small pulse to the injector, it is a solenoid injector, right. So, solenoid injector, a pulse is given and this fuel comes in, the piston is still moving down, and at the end of the intake stroke you will have some kind of a homogeneous mixture formation. And then what you do is you start compression. So, from here onwards compression stroke starts, and then towards the end of the compression stroke what you do, you give a bigger pulse. So, 3/4 of the fuel is injected, and when this fuel reaches very close to the spark plug, you apply the spark. Okay. You apply the spark, and when you apply the spark, this mixture will burn fast and combustion will take place. Okay. And since there is neither there is no stoichiometric region, there will be suppression of knocking because of two-stage mixing. Clear? Now, you see the emission of soot is prevented even when a dense fuel air mixture is formed and excess air is not sufficient. If air were the only gas present in the combustion chamber, as is the case with ordinary diesel engine, the enriched charge will cool, causing the soot to form. So, in a diesel engine, soot formation takes place because you inject the fuel, there will be fuel rich region, the soot forms and then soot moves sidewise because of the thermophoretic forces. There is just air. So, this soot actually cools down and freezes and comes out as matured soot. So, this is the soot formation mixture. The same process happens if you are doing single stage injection at part load condition, okay, in the stratified charge mode. With two stage mixing, the enriched charge created in the part of the combustion chamber where the dense air fuel mixture exists shifts toward the other side of the chamber where the mixture is leaner, okay, because of the thermophoretic forces. As it burns, at this point the enriched charge causes the ultra lean mixture, which is too lean to burn, under ordinary circumstances to ignite. The combustion of ultra lean mixture in turn causes the enriched charge to reignite. It is the process that suppresses the formation of soot. So, by this two stage mixing process, we are able to suppress the formation of soot as well as suppress the knocking process. This is the first time in the long history of petrol engine the direct control of combustion has been used to suppress knocking, and it further underscores the importance of achieving air fuel mixture control, precise control of the air fuel mixing process. Okay. So, this cartoon shows it. This is the compression stroke injection. This happens at part load conditions, right. So, at part load, you are injecting the fuel is being injected. Here at rest of the places there will be just air. So, when this combustion happens, this is fuel rich zone. Here the soot formation will take place because there is not enough air, it is just the fuel, more fuel. So, what will happen? Soot formation will happen, and this soot will move to the other side because of the thermophoretic forces. And when it moves to air, it will just freeze. It will just freeze because the combustion can happen only when the fuel air mixture is within the flammability limit, right, and this soot will not be able to increase the air fuel mixture strength in this zone to that flammability limit. That is why it does not burn and it comes out as soot in the exhaust stroke. On the other hand, when you are doing two stage mixing, so 1/4 of the fuel has been put and it makes a very lean mixture which will not burn under ordinary circumstances. And you are injecting this fuel, the soot formation takes place, and then the soot migrates to the sidewise. There is already some fuel, and once the soot migrates, it enriches the fuel air mixture strength and it starts burning. So then combustion will take place, so soot will burn, and also this fuel that is present here will also start burning. Okay. So this is how we control the soot formation. Now you see this chart actually compares the GDI engine's total power output with compared to a conventional MPFI engine. So now what we are doing is we are comparing MPFI engine and GDI engine. With the GDI engine, the effect of two-stage mixing and suppressed transient knocking boosts the low speed torque necessary for acceleration. So you see here, this is the axis which gives the engine speed, and this is the axis which gives the engine torque. And you would like to go up on this scale. Why? Because more and more torque from small swept volume you would like to have. So this is the conventional MPFI engine. An MPFI engine is definitely more powerful than a diesel engine. Okay. Now you see what happens is that when you suppress the knocking, low speed torque actually increases from here to here, and then when you do two-stage mixing, you actually get here. So basically you see here at low speed there is a huge amount of difference in torque, and you guys, the young guys, are going to love it, because this gives you the feeling of power. When you just start the bike put it in the first gear, and it gives you hell of a power, right? So GDI engine definitely is going to be much more powerful than conventional MPFI engine, not only in the initial stages but also at high speed. You see, since you are able to cool the intake air, the volumetric efficiency goes up, and also you are using straight upright port, that also increases the volumetric efficiency. So in the entire range you see you get more torque, and these two engines are same 1 liter or same swept volume. So apple to apple oranges, apple to apple comparison. So on a apple to apple comparison basis, you can see that GDI engine performance in terms of power output, torque output is definitely much more superior to conventional MPFI engine across the speed range. So basically with GDI engine, the effect of two-stage mixing and suppressed transient boosts the low speed torque because of these two necessary for acceleration. Moreover, the cooling effect of the intake air and smoothness with which the air is drawn in using the straight upright intake port enables greater power at medium and high speed ranges. So low speed, it is very high torque. Even in high speed and medium speeds, the torque is higher than port feed injection technology. So definitely, if you go and buy your next luxury car, okay, you should consider going for a GDI engine compared to PFI engine. Now I want to talk to you about the first slide that I discussed with you, how the GDI engine is actually able to meet the most stringent emission norms. There should be no cost difference, because I told you that GDI engine and MPFI engine, the weight is same, only the design is different. There should not be much difference in the cost. But unfortunately in India, just like we missed Silicon bus, we also have missed the GDI bus. There are hardly any manufacturers of GDI engines. Rest of the world is taking advantage. Europe, GDI engine is very popular. Japan, most of the engines are GDI engine. Mitsubishi does not make any other engine other than GDI. Okay. Then you go to Korea, a lot of Samsung and Kia Motors, they all use GDI in one form or the other. Some of the American cars also use GDI engines. So GDI engines are very, very popular because their fuel efficiency is also great. I haven't come across, the only advantage which you can think about is particulate emissions. That also can be really controlled in a nicely made car. Other than that, there is nothing negative, So it's a quite exciting technology for cars. So I told you that GDI engine, how it is going to meet even the most stringent emission norms. First is the two-stage combustion. Now don't get confused, but there are several twos here. Okay, the first was two combustion modes, stratified and homogeneous, and these are, one is at part load, the other one is at full load and mixing. So what was it for? One for suppressing the knocking and also for suppressing the soot formation. And now we are talking of two-stage combustion. Please understand, two-stage combustion. Okay. Now don't confuse two-stage combustion with two modes of combustion. You should be absolutely clear in your mind. There are three twos here. Okay. So the third two is actually two-stage combustion. GDI is precise control over the formation of air fuel mixture, and then you are using exhaust reactive type exhaust manifold, and you are using high volume EGR and lean revamped NOx. So this is how a configuration of a GDI engine looks like. You see here, this is high volume EGR. So you are putting lot of exhaust gas back into the intake, and this is going to reduce the NOx emissions. Okay. And then you have two-stage combustion inside the combustion chamber, and here two-stage combustion, the idea is, I told you that when you start the engine from the cold, your exhaust gas is cold. How cold? About 200 degree. So when the exhaust gas itself is 200 degree, how the hell is it going to heat the catalytic converter to 250? It's going to take a lot of time. Then 200, when the engine gradually start getting warmed up, and then it reaches, by the time it reaches 500, 600 degree, it's already 4-5 minutes. So catalytic converter takes a lot of time. So here, what is thought is that, can you not increase the exhaust gas temperature as soon as you start the engine? Theoretically, can you not do that? You can. Practically, okay, you can. And what is done here is that you run the engine. Obviously, when you are starting, you are going to start the engine in part load or full load, homogeneous or stratified? Stratified always, no load condition. So always stratified. Obviously, even you are putting lesser amount of fuel. So what is done here is that, okay, you put the fuel in stratified mode in end of the compression. Now how about putting little bit extra fuel in the exhaust stroke? Can you do that? Waste of fuel, royal waste of fuel, right? What it is going to do? Nothing. It does something. What it does is, it raises the temperature of the exhaust gas from 200 to 800. It's a non-work producing expenditure of fuel that you have to incur in order to control the emissions. So this fuel is not going to actually help you get more efficiency or fuel economy, but it will help you control the emissions, and you have to do this only for first 30 seconds, because once it's 250, you can switch it off, and after that the engine exhaust is anyway going to be hot. Okay. So two-stage combustion means you are doing one injection at the end of the compression just to achieve stratified combustion mode, and the second injection that you do will be in exhaust stroke only for the first 30 seconds, so that your exhaust is, instead of 200, it is 800. Once the exhaust is 800, what will happen? Catalytic converter will warm up quickly. So this is the two-stage combustion that is happening here. And then you see exhaust is very fast. When you put it in the manifold, it runs out quickly, and when it runs out, it takes away a lot of heat. You don't want that 800 that you have achieved by putting extra fuel to run away. You want to extract heat out of it, so that your catalytic converter warms up quickly. So here you put a reactive type exhaust manifold, so that your catalytic converter extracts heat out of hot exhaust gas. Slow it down a little bit. Exhaust gas should be slowed down. And then you see from here the exhaust gas comes out, and then what you do is you put a lean NOx catalyst. Okay. So lean NOx catalyst means it is going to basically absorb some of the heat, some of the NOx. Okay. Lean NOx catalyst is a very interesting device. So what it does is, it's called LNT, lean NOx trap. This is also called lean NOx catalyst, same thing. Lean NOx trap is a very interesting device. What it does is, in nutshell, I am going to tell you that it is like a sponge. Okay. So I have a sponge here, and if the water is dripping one drop by one drop by one drop, it will not allow, it will absorb everything inside. It will not allow the water to spill on this surface. But then after some time what will happen? Sponge will get saturated. So, if you do not really take the water out, the water will start spilling. So, then what you do, you pick up this sponge, take it to a wash basin, squeeze it, take the water out, and then take care of the water by three-way catalytic converter, okay, and then put it back. So, regenerate the sponge and then it will again do. So, basically it is like the lean NOx trap it undergoes a absorption desorption mechanism. So, when NOx is produced in very small quantity, it absorbs for say first 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and then once its adsorption capacity is over, adsorption is a surface phenomenon. Okay. Once its adsorption capacity is over, you flush that NOx, and once you flush that NOx, it comes back into the exhaust stream, and then you kill it by three-way catalytic converter. Okay. Now, you can ask me, if it is to be killed by three-way catalytic converter, what is the need to use lean NOx trap? You can kill it anyway, right? That is a natural question to ask. So, the point here is that three-way catalytic converter is a very beautiful device. Two-way catalytic, I will talk about it later in detail, but I just want you to enjoy this bit. Two-way catalytic converter and three-way catalytic converter, these are the two devices which are typically used in gasoline engines to control the emissions. When you say two-way catalytic converter, you are actually oxidizing the hydrocarbons and carbon monoxide, two species, that is why it is called two-way catalytic converter. Three-way catalytic converter means you are oxidizing the HC and CO and you are reducing the NOx. Very beautiful device, works on platinum catalyst, lot of platinum you have to put in, okay. Instead of giving to your girlfriend as a ring, you have to put it in the catalytic, in the exhaust system of your car. I hate that. But the limitation with that device is that it works only in the stoichiometric mixture. If you have air to fuel ratio which is 15 or richer side, only then it will work. If there is oxygen present in the exhaust, if it is leaner, oxygen will be present, and if there is oxygen present, it cannot take care of the NOx, because NOx has to provide oxygen to hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide oxidation, and now oxygen is available. So, why leave NOx aside if oxygen is available? Why should I snatch it from NOx? Simple, you know, you would, if there are two enemies, one is weak, the other one is strong, who would you like to knock out? Not the strong one, everybody will choose the. So, that is what happens here. It is a natural, you know, story. So, this three-way catalytic converter only works when the mixture is stoichiometric. Okay. So, now you see GDI engine, you are not operating at stoichiometric mixture. Overall, you are always operating GDI engine overall lean. So, that is why the lean NOx trap is actually required to absorb the NOx when you are operating lean, because this three-way catalytic converter will be ineffective in such a situation. So, you keep absorbing, and when you have to desorb, what you need to do is you make the mixture stoichiometric here. So, this HC and CO will be produced, that will knock off this NOx, and this will be neutralized by the three-way catalytic converter. Clear? So, this is how TWC is going to work, TWC and LNT is going to work. So, this is, if you employ these 3-4 techniques in your engine, GDI engine, you will be actually able to meet the most stringent emission norms. Okay. So, combustion occurs towards the end of the compression stroke and concludes at the beginning of the expansion, by which time the gases in the engine has risen to a high temperature. At this point, when the fuel is injected again towards the end of the expansion or beginning of the exhaust stroke, the fuel is injected into the high temperature atmosphere gas and it ignites, and the temperature of the gas, operational gas, rises, causing the mixture to ignite again and burn the second time, but it does not produce any work. Okay. So, as a consequence, the temperature of the gas rises to as high as 800 compared to 200 in case of idling immediately after the startup. Okay. So, this is the two-stage combustion. So, in petrol engines, a highly effective three-way catalytic converter is used to remove the HC from the exhaust emissions. The catalyst activates at temperature above 250. So, therefore, it is necessary to warm the catalyst as soon as the engine is started. So, this is made possible by two-stage combustion, a reactive type exhaust manifold which increases the effectiveness of this heat exchange process. GDI engine operates in stratified combustion mode when you are starting the engine. Okay. So, fuel is injected at the end of the compression and this ensures very lean operation. So, this shows what is a two-stage combustion. So, in two-stage combustion basically you see this is the compression stroke. So, you are doing at the end of the compression stroke injection here and you are igniting it. So, now the mixture is burning here and you have just started the engine. Okay. So, once you have just started the engine, then what will happen? It will, the temperature of the exhaust will be very cool. So, now the expansion stroke starts and at the end of the expansion stroke, almost at the end, you inject another pulse. So, when you start, the mixture will, the fuel will burn and this is going to raise the temperature of the exhaust, and then during the exhaust this hot gas goes out. Okay. So, this actually enables the exhaust gas temperature to rise from 200 to 800. So, this you do only for first 20-30 seconds, after that switch off this, because this is non work producing fuel injection that you are doing. So, it costs you fuel, it causes fuel penalty. So, you do not want to do that for a long time. So, this actually leads to earlier activation of the catalyst. So, without two-stage combustion, this is a typical case, the catalyst take 100 seconds or more to warm up. Actually, it depends on case to case, but 100 to 300 seconds it takes to warm up to 250. So, that means to 100 to 300 you will be emitting full scale HCNCO emissions into the environment. So, if you are doing only two-stage combustion, this warm up time is cut to half. Just two-stage combustion you do, increase 200 to 800, you will reduce this time to half. And then if you do reactive type manifold, where you reduce the exhaust speed a little bit and allow the heat transfer, allow sufficient time for the heat transfer between the gases and the three-way catalytic converter, then you reduce further. So, use of the reactive type manifold which retains the exhaust gases, mixes them with the air to ensure that combustion response reactions which started in the combustion chamber continue inside the manifold. This warm up time can be reduced to merely 20 seconds. So, that means only for just with the combination of two-stage combustion and reactive manifold, you can actually reduce the cold start emission time to very small periods. So, therefore, in most modern engines which are high emission compliance vehicles, and so this is very frequently used. So, as a result, HC emissions immediately after engine startup can be reduced drastically. So, this is actually data, this is just a case study which I wanted to show you of how this actually works, earlier activation of the catalyst. So, you see here, this is the time. Okay. So, this basically shows the vehicle speed. So, you start the engine, suppose you are in your house, you start the engine, you wait for 2, 3, 5 seconds, 10 seconds and you put it in first gear, take out of your garage, so it attains some speed, and then you come to the main street, you stop, you brake the car, you apply the brakes, and then you wait that okay, there are no cars coming from here and there, and then you go to the street at some 20 kilometers an hour. Then again there is a stop sign, you stop there, just look on both sides, then you go to the main highway, so then speed increases. So, this is typically the driving cycle for a typical day to day driving when you get out of your home, when the engine is starting from cold. Okay. And here you see this is the temperature of the catalytic converter. So, you see it will be 0 does not mean 0 degree C, but it means atmospheric temperature. So, it will start rising, but at a very slow rate, this color, and then after some time it will warm up. You see here 200 degree centigrade is obtained almost 160 seconds into the driving, 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes. Okay. Then what you do is you, and if you look at the HC emissions, so as soon as you start, the HC emission starts rising, and HC emissions are controlled only here after about 180 seconds. Okay. So, for 180 seconds you are getting full blast HC emissions, no control. Then what you do is you do two-stage combustion. So, once you do two-stage combustion, then what will happen? The temperature now, exhaust gas temperature has risen from 200 to 800 degree. So, the catalytic converter's temperature will start rising, and I think within like 50 seconds you can become 200, 250, 50, 60 second is what it takes. And then you see the temperature will be almost 400 degree centigrade. So, it will get activated here, 250 degree centigrade. Let us look at the HC emissions. So, this green line you see HC emissions are very high and it comes down here. So, around 100 second instead of 180 second, now within 100 second the HC emissions are controlled now, right. Then what you do is you have now put reactive type manifold also, that okay, you have slowed it down and you allow a little bit extra air so that the combustion reactions are more complete. So, here you see the 50 degree 250 degree centigrade temperatures obtained only in like 30 seconds. And then if you look at this HC emissions are within 40-45 seconds is controlled. So, this is one typical data, actual experimental data set which shows actually how you can do the earlier activation. So, now you see here without any two stage combustion, without any reactive manifold, about 200 seconds it took for HC to get controlled, and here with these two you are in 40-50 seconds you are able to control the HC emissions 1/4 of the time. But then this exercise has to, there is no one size fits all kind of a situation. If you are developing a car A and car B and car C, SUV A, B, C, you have to do this development for each vehicle separately, and the trends can be separate from case to case. It is just one case that I have showed you, but trends will be same, but numbers can be different. Okay.